Good day, fans and subscribers. You're on to your favorite Megabox channel. As usual, uh, we are talking about substructure. Uh, Tonight, we should be looking at Raft Foundation, the principles, the techniques, and the applicability of Raft Foundation in buildings. Now, Raft Foundation mainly are applicable to soil of low bearing capacity, where the soil is substantially loose and weak and have potential for subsidence and failure. We can safely adopt Raft Foundation as a solution to our substructure. And we have other factors. Now, when you have the thrust and the weight of the building that's so enormous and substantial, and there's so much loading on the columns that transmit the load down to the ground. Now, we also adopt the use of a Raft Foundation. Also, in a building, when you have unequal loading, for instances, in factory construction, in factory buildings, in plants, in automobile industries, when you have equipment, you have heavy machineries in different sections of the building, so you have an unequal loading pattern, then you can safely adopt the use of Raft Foundation so that it can now spread the load, the entire weight of the load around the ground. In constructing a Raft Foundation, the entire floor space is being dug to a required depth as permitted by design, and then columns are being mounted equally as also defined by design, so that you can have a uniform distribution of loading at the bottom and at the base of the structure that can be able to tackle any eccentricity or unequal loading effect arising from various equipment and machineries and activity and thrust on the columns that will be transporting the load down to the strata of the bottom. Now, in this case, usually the depth of the trench is not more than 1.5 meter, and then you have a mat of concrete which is around 2 feet to 3 feet thickness, depending on the loading of the building in view. So you also have columns being positioned that can now bring the thrust of the weight from the superstructure down to the substructure, and then can be evenly distributed and absorbed by the ground. Now, in digging the trenches of a Raft Foundation, it's done uniformly. Now, the entire perimeter of the floor area has been dug and then is leveled equally so that you cannot spread your mat. Raft Foundation, in other words, it's being called mat foundation, meaning mat of concrete, massive concrete, RC concrete reinforced on the ground. Now, it is being a framework of road rebar at 4 to 6 inches, depending also on design, as you can see on the video. So it's suitable for such places that have waterlogged problems, that have loose soil conditions, that have cases where you have soil that have fairly very low and challenging bearing capacity. It is also economical, instead of using pile foundation, which might cost more, if the superstructure, the loading, it's not substantial enough that can be contained by a mat of a foundation, that can also be adopted. Now, we look at it. There are things we do and consider when we are now trying to do our matting of the bar. You can see the lapping is not done on the same line, so that you can now have the challenge of cracking and breaking. The lapping is being staggered so that there should be a safety measure on the mat when the building comes over it. And then at the same time, we have the depth of the excavation is done, as I said earlier, about 2 feet or so, and then you have your mat about 1 feet of concrete. It can also be extended depending on requirement and depending on design. So these are some factors we use.